Hi, welcome. And just as a way of introduction, I'm Silvana and I'm the Training and Research Consultancy Manager for QSR International in the EMEA region. But I'm also a sociologist and a former academic and qualitative researcher. And I must say that I've actually predate all this software. So when I was learning the software, when I was doing my PhD, it was before, I mean, actually not when I was doing the software, when I was doing my PhD, there was no software, and I had to do it in the traditional manner. I've sort of lived with the journey of the software from traditional ways of working with paper all the way up through the different versions of originally Nudist and now up to NVivo 11. So what I'm going to be focusing on today is the new edition that's come out in NVivo 11, NVivo 11 Plus for Windows, and just talking about the benefits of the Plus edition in terms of the fact that it enables you to autocode by theme and sentiment. So what I'm going to be talking about is just first briefly talk you through the different editions that NVivo 11 comes in. And as I said, the focus of this session is to do with the Plus edition. And then I'll be moving on and talking about how to incorporate autocoding by themes and sentiment in your analysis strategy, talking about what the purpose of coding is anyway, issues that you may need to consider or should consider if you want to adopt this new feature in your analysis strategy. And I'll be talking about two basic strategies that you can use this tool as a discovery tool, as a way to quickly get a sense of the data, or as a verification tool. So after you've done your coding, you may want to use it as a way to check if you've missed anything or any ideas in your coding. So I'm going to start by talking about autocoding by themes first and explain what the software is doing and then demonstrating it. And then I'll move on to autocoding by sentiment and first explain what the software is doing and demonstrating it. And as Ian said, we'll take questions at the end of the session. Okay, so just briefly, NVivo 11, which came out, NVivo 11 for Windows, which came out at the end of September, comes in 3 editions. Starter is a very basic version of NVivo. It's just for textual data, and it has basic queries and some basic visualizations. The professional level gives you the full range of data types that you can have in NVivo, so that's the audio, the video, the images, survey data, social media, and now with the new update that just came in this week, you can also analyze your emails by just dragging them from Outlook into NVivo. So the professional version is basically the version you'd upgrade to if you've been working with an NVivo 10. It has the same range of data that you can work with. In addition, it has 3 types of maps and also allows you to do more complex queries. Now the Plus edition, which is what the focus of this session is about, in addition to all that, adds the automation of the analysis of text and of sentiment. And also it has some social network analysis tools. I won't be talking about the social network analysis tools in this session. We'll be running a session about that in the new year. So the focus is just on the automation of text and sentiment. But I want to first start by just saying, well, what is the purpose of coding? Now, NVivo has been designed to support the analysis of completely unstructured data, and it has a range of tools to do this, from annotations and memos to coding and visualizations, a whole range of queries to help you to look at patterns. So it's always been more than a coding machine. In fact, the way I view coding is I just see coding as just one way of organizing unstructured data to help you make sense of it. And I find that the real analysis is putting it all together when you're using queries and visualizations to see patterns and to write up your reflections in memos. However, large qualitative data sets are a problem because of the time it takes to organize the material in order to make sense of it. And that's where autocoding can help. So there's always, NVivo for a long time has had some automatic coding features. So if you are familiar with earlier versions of NVivo, you know that for a long time you've been able to autocode any textual data that you have that's structured in some way. So for example, if you have structured Word documents, for example, focus groups are certainly structured by speakers. You can, if you prepare it in a certain way in Word with heading styles, you can automatically code for each speaker's words. Or if you have it's structured Word transcripts by topic areas, again, if you have the topic names in heading style, a Word heading style, like a heading style 1, you can again automatically code for the question. So that's just based on the structure of the data. You put the structure in there, so all NVivo is doing is just following your structure that you put in there and just basically putting in a pile, you know, all your answers together in topic A and all your answers together in topic B very quickly, automatically. And the same thing with data sets. For example, surveys that are imported into NVivo as a spreadsheet, they're structured by columns and rows. So you're able to automatically code by structure in NVivo, you know, all the columns with your open-ended questions, and it does that very quickly. So again, this is following your structure. You are in control. You put the structure in this data. So that's been available in earlier versions of NVivo and is still available in NVivo 11 Pro and Plus. What was introduced in NVivo 10 and is available in NVivo 11 for Windows Plus is by autocoding by existing coding patterns. So that is when you code yourself going within NVivo, reading, interpreting, and coding about 10% of a large data set. And then NVivo will code the rest of the data matching the pattern of your coding. And it will learn, because if you then correct it and then you run it again, it will be more accurate. So this is, you know, the first bit in NVivo 10 that was introduced some sort of artificial intelligence aspect in NVivo. But what I'm going to be talking about now are these new types of automatic coding that you have in NVivo 11 for Plus. The first one is by themes, and I'll be explaining how now NVivo has a salience engine that can detect noun phrases and through that code for themes, which I'll be showing you. And also the Plus edition also will automatically code for sentiment about how positive or negative statements are. And again, it has a salience engine to identify emotive phrases. So these are the two aspects of autocoding that I'm going to be focusing on today. So let's start with autocoding by themes. So again, you have to think about, you know, if you want to incorporate this into your analysis strategy, there are certain things you need to think about. You know, are you working mainly with textual data? Because obviously this just works with text. So it works with Word documents and PDF files. It works with the open-ended responses in survey data. It works with the transcripts of videos and audios and the logs of picture files that you might have in NVivo. And of course, it can't work with audio and video files that haven't been transcribed because what it's doing is just dealing with text. Also, do you have a large amount of data? And do you have a tight deadline? And if you have both of these, then I do recommend that you might want to seriously think about incorporating autocoding by theme and sentiment to your strategy. But of course, you have to step back and think about, well, is this feature consistent with my methodological approach? And that's very important. And that should be your guidelines. But there are ways that you can use it, that you can, for most approaches, make it consistent. You could simply, use it as a discovery tool, as a way to quickly start up the process of coding, or you might have already done your coding and you might just want to do a quick check as a verification if it comes up with anything that that you'd missed in it. So those are sort of two basic strategies you might want to think about as I show you what the software can do. So just to explain what the software is doing, what's in that black box, the salience engine that NVivo uses detects nouns and noun phrases. And not all noun phrases are picked up. It uses lexical chaining, so it relates the sentences within the scope of the text that you're doing your search in. It excludes pronouns, names of people, place names, and organization names. And that's what the salience engine does. And then what NVivo does, once it gets the results from the salience engine, it identifies potential parent themes. So that's NVivo terminology. So that's sort of like potential, your broad categories, your broad topic areas, your broad themes. And then what NVivo does, having then identified those broad topic areas, it will group sub-themes under those broad topic areas or parent themes based on word similarity. Now, I should point out that the scope of the text does impact the results. What it does is whatever you say it, whatever number of items that you select for it to autocode, it will look across all of them. And there is sort of looking for a frequency of themes. So for example, if you have a survey which has several open-ended questions, if you just do it on the survey as a whole, it won't be as accurate as if you first automatically code for each individual survey question and then run the automatic coding by theme for each particular question, because then it will just be looking at the range of noun phrases within that question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to illustrate that now. So I'm just going to go into NVivo here. So what I have here is a project where no coding has been done. So this is looking at NVivo as a discovery tool. And I have two different types of data that I put in here actually they're from two different projects because I wanted to show you different types of data. I have some focus group data here, and they're fairly lengthy focus groups. They're each over an hour long. And I also have survey data here. And the survey data is actually, if I start with that, was a real consultation on sort of budget cuts, really, or options for cutting budget from a local authority in the UK. And if I just open it up here, you can see here that there are 673 responses in this survey data, and there's a whole load of close-ended questions about the Council's suggestions for changing in budgets. And you can see here that there are two open-ended questions. One open-ended question is about commenting on the budget options that the Council has put forward. And the second open-ended questions is asking people for their suggestions about ways that the council could save or make money. So what I want to do first is, as I said, just to make it more accurate, I want to first do that first type of auto-coding that's been available in NVivo for quite a long time, is to be able to automatically code for the structure of the survey. So I can automatically code for these two columns to create a node for the budget options comments and a node for the saving or making money comments. So to do that, I'm just first selecting that survey and right-clicking and just say Autocode. And so this is the option. The third option here is that it will automatically code by the structure of the spreadsheet. So I'm just going to tell it this first option, which will automatically code for the two open-ended question columns, as you can see in the diagram here. And you can see here, so here are the two open-ended questions that NVivo is showing me, and it's giving me a preview. And I'm just clicking next here. And I just have to tell NVivo where I want to put these two codes in there. And I've already created a folder for them beforehand. And so the folder is here under, consultation questions. And I'll just click OK. And click Finish. Right, so now if I go into my node area here, and you can see here's my folder for budget consultation, and you can see here are the two open-ended questions that have been automatically coded. And if I open them up like this, you'll see there are all the responses. And up to now, what I would have had to do is to go and read them and just go and just select them and code them as I go through it. However, now what I can do is automatically code by theme. So to do that, I'll do the first open-ended question here on budget options, and I'll just right-click and click Autocode. And you see it says Identify Themes, and click Next. And I get a preview of what it finds. And you can see here are the top level topic areas about services, about the council, about tax. And if I click on them, I can actually see the actual noun phrases that it picked up, like that. And at this stage, I can decide, I can be focused. There might be only certain areas that I'm interested in. So I might deselect them, but for now I'll just select everything. And then I have to tell NVivo when it finds these noun phrases how much text to code. So I can say to code the sentence, the paragraph, or as this is a data set, it's in a spreadsheet, to code the entire cell where the noun phrase is located. Now I happen to know in this data set that some people had very lengthy answers, so I'm not going to select the cell, I'm going to select the sentence. And that's one thing, is it's important to understand the structure of the data you have. Obviously, you can do it one way and do it another, but it helps if you have an idea, like, they either answered, very short questions, or, they had long responses. So because they had long responses, I'm going to have it code for sentence. Now you see here, this is where you tell NVivo where to put the results. You see that it will automatically create a separate folder for auto-coded themes, so you can keep them separate. But you can put it wherever you want. And since I just want to show you the difference between questions 6 and 7, I'm just going to just put these under question 6 because this is what I auto-coded with, the responses to question 6, and click Finish. And I get a little matrix table here. So I can see that by the shading, where most of the coding is. So I can see most of the coding here is about, what it picked up was about services. So these are the top level nodes or codes that it created. The numbers there represent the number of passages, or in this case sentences, coded. I can change, or if I had set up the project, which I haven't done, but I could have done it very quickly, it would also be able to identify the number of people. So I could change the numbers to the number of people. And then here I can see under my open-ended question for budget object conferences, here are all the options. So I can see here that there are a lot of comments about council tax, and it's coded it for council tax. So if I double click it, you can see, so here are all the comments that they have about the council tax there. I'll just close that. There's also a lot of comments you can see here about services. So again, it's coded it all about services, so I can see what it's saying about services. But in addition to that, I can see the kinds of things they're saying. So if I click on the plus sign here, here are the noun phrases. So I can see that people are talking about, a couple of people here are talking about increasing council tax, about paying council tax, etc. So it's up to you whether you want to keep this fine level of coding, or whether as an exploratory tool, if you're using it in an exploratory way, whether this is giving you a quick idea of the kinds of things they're talking about when they're talking about council tax. The same thing here for services here. And you can see here there's a lot of stuff on services. I can just change the order so that the most frequent ones are up at the top here. So I'll just move that right up there. And just getting out of there. Yeah, so here, here I can see here that, again, you know, you might, if you do want to keep it for coding purposes, you need to tidy it up, you know, because I can say here, well, actually, vital services and essential services are the same thing. So I can just cut and merge them into the selected node together like that. Click OK. And, you know, sort of go through this and look more finely for the types of things that they're talking about. But they're all up here under services, as you can see, so it's coded there. And what you can do is that if you are going to be using it, because you don't have time to code, what you would need to do is to clean this up. You would need to go through it, and you can see there's vital service again, so I'll just cut, because you see it looks at separately the plural and singular versions of a phrase, but that's quite easy. I can just merge them in here. So I would need to refine this if I was going to use it for coding purposes, but because it's in a separate area, I mean, I know all this was done auto-coding. I can then move the codes that I want to keep into another part of my coding structure in here. So the same thing, if I want to now do the same thing for the second question, I just right-click on the second question, which is their comments on ways the council could save or make money. So I just selected that question there. And click Next. So now it's identifying the themes from that question. And actually you can see it's picked up more top-level nodes here. So maybe people had more ideas. So I'll just click next. Again, you can preview them and you can refine it and decide not to have NVivo code certain ones, but I'm bringing them all in. And again, I'll have them code the sentence. And this time, I'll just put the results under question 7. And right, so just finish. And I'll just say that normally this is very quick. It's just because we've got GoToWebinar on at the same time. There's a lot of things going on in my computer at the same time, so it's just taking longer than normal. But here it goes. And again, I get the matrix here, so I can see, again, there's a lot here about council as I go through all the different things here, and also services, again, comes out, and tax, about a lot of that. Just to let you know that I've closed down those node matrices here, but they are saved, so I can get back to them. Again, so like this last one was, I can rename it so that I can remind myself that this was for the one I just did, which was question 7. And the other one was question 6. So you can, as you can see, you can always get them back because they're automatically stored in the node matrix area. And so if I go back to my, so here if I click on the plus sign, you can see that there are more top-level nodes or ideas for saving and making money here. And again, I can go through this just at the top level here. So I'm interested in terms of what people are saying about money. And again, this is all coded as money, but in an exploratory way, I can see the noun phrases under here. So there's stuff about saving money, about tax basis money, about wasting money. And again, all of these, if I just want to look at them, I can see what they're saying in terms of that detail. So again, it's up to you in terms of how you use this, but if you are going to be using it to quickly code because of time constraints, you have the top levels coded, and basically it's a question of refining the noun phrases, merging them together, so I've merged together pay cut and pay cuts by just cutting and merging them that way. And the nodes that you want to keep, you can move into another area. So you can always keep separate the coding that was done by the Autocoding tool and the coding that you've looked at and are happy with. So that was looking at automatically coding from survey data, the open-ended questions, and first coding for each question. Just to show you quickly that, the same thing with another type of data. This is focus group data here. This was actually from a study that I did a few years ago, which was looking at year 11 students and their impressions of universities by looking at the university websites. And there was a whole range of data I did to investigate that. But these were 2 focus groups that I did after they sort of investigated and explored the websites. So again, I haven't done any coding in this version here of it, so if I want to automatically code, I'll select both focus groups. They were asked the same questions, so I will auto-code them and identify themes. And again, I can see that there's some things that, like the word thing, private room thing, photo thing, and again, it sort of mirrors the kind of language that they were talking about, the websites, the language that, 17-year-olds use, like that. But there was a lot about the color and the color scheme of the websites. So you can see there's color and color scheme. And obviously about the kind of degree that they thought or reputation the university would have there. So I'll just go through the whole thing. As I said, at this stage you can deselect stuff that you're not going to be interested in, but I'll just let it run through. Okay, and again, I have the choice to code sentences or code paragraphs. So I'm going to code sentences. And yeah, so this is the website study here. So I'll just put it directly in there. And you can see here, it compares the two focus groups here. It happens to be that focus group 1 were all boys and focus group 2 were all girls. So I can see that they both talked quite a bit about color and color scheme here. And university and virtual world, etc. So again, I can close that down and I can just go and look in more detail of looking here. So that's the website study there. So I can see here that color scheme comes up there. And if I want to look at stuff about, the degree here, and again, their impression of the university, the type of university, its reputation by just what it looked like on its website. So again, this, so here a lot about the color scheme and colors and bright colors and vibrant colors and the types of things they were looking about. So again, the scope makes a difference. I did it for both focus groups. If I did it again with one at a time, it would be a bit different because it would be more targeted on the types of things that particular focus group did. So you just need to play around with it. My focus groups were structured on topic areas, and I did prepare them in Word so that I could again do the same thing, automatically code for those broad topic areas. They were really broad topic areas, as you can see as I scroll down them. It was, but again, if I did that and then do the same thing as I just did for the survey, just code for each broad topic area. So in the survey, I had did run the autocoded by themes on each question. I would get more precise results. So the scope does make a difference. So if I just go back to my PowerPoint here, so just working with autocoding by theme just to be aware of the limitations. It doesn't replace reading your data. You still need to be familiar with it. And also that coding by reading and interpreting the text will always be more accurate. And also you're not able to predetermine the themes. There's no stop list. There's no way you can say, no, don't ignore all that bit. You know, when I made that big introduction about what this focus group's about, can't do that. But the way you can work with it as a discovery tool is, first of all, be guided by your research questions. So you saw how it picks up the broad topic areas, and basically you might want to start by just looking at those topic areas that are relevant to your research questions. I mean, you might also want to look at some others that might surprise you. As say, it's a discovery tool. But the good thing is that the results are in their own separate folder, so they're not mixed up with any coding that you've done yourself by reading and interpreting, or that you've gone through and you're happy with. And again, I said you need to refine the results. You would need to merge some of the nodes together. Some nodes you'll find will be duplicated. So the example there is like fishing industry is both under fishing and industry. In the example you just saw, color scheme was under its own separate heading as color scheme. This is color scheme of the websites, because that was a lot of hits, but it was also all under color. So you want to get rid of any duplicates. As I said, as you review the results, you can move the ones you want to keep into your thematic folder that you're happy about. You might just want to keep to those top level nodes, the coding, and you just look at the child nodes, the nodes underneath with the noun phrases for ideas about how those top level keywords are being used. And you can always use other tools you have in NVivo, like the text search, to search for some key phrases, to pick up anything that the autocoding by themes may have missed. I'll be showing you in a minute the project that I did that was coded by hand, just to compare what my coding was by reading and interpreting with what the autocoding tool picked up. And so I'll talk at that point about strategies to work with as a verification tool. But before I do that, I just want to move on to autocoding by sentiment. What the software is doing is that the salience engine identifies emotive words. So there's a dictionary basically where words are scored between -1 and +1. And then that score for each word is then refined according to the scores of nearby words. And it comes up with an overall score for what's called the parts of speech, the POS. So it's not a sentence, but it's an overall score for a part of speech. And a part of speech includes nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. So that is given a final score. And then the salience engine then identifies those sentiment-bearing phrases, those phrases that have sentiment, and then give those phrases a score. And then what NVivo does, based on that score, it determines where that phrase should be coded. And the codes are, whether it's very negative, moderately positive, or very positive. And you need to be aware that text can be coded as both positive and negative because the analysis process is looking at the words in isolation. And also you have to bear in mind the way people talk. So they might be saying something quite negative, but using positive words in it, or vice versa. And obviously you can't pick up sarcasm. With autocoding by sentiment, it doesn't matter what the scope of your search is. That doesn't impact the results the way automatic coding by themes does. So by automatic coding by themes, you got different results if you looked at, like if I looked at all my focus groups in one go, or if I looked at individual ones. or the same thing in a survey if I looked at the whole survey as a whole with all the open-ended questions, or if I just look at individual ones, I'd get different results which are more precise the more specific or narrow my scope is. But with the sentiment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back into NVivo here just to show you automatic coding by sentiment. And since it doesn't matter how the scope is, I'll just do it on my survey data. I don't need to do it per question, so I can just go into the survey data and click Autocode, identify sentiment, next. And again, you have a choice of whether it's identifying sentiment for coding a whole sentence once it's identified the sentence, or coding the whole paragraph, or the cell of a data set. So again, I'm going to pick sentence for this particular survey because some responses were quite long. And then again, I get this matrix table here. So I can see here that there's quite a lot of negative statements, but there are also positive statements here. And where I'll just close that down. Where the sentiment nodes are stored in NVivo is there's a separate area for sentiment. See, there's a folder here for sentiment. And here's my positive, and here's my negative sentiment there. So I can go and review them in this way, and bearing in mind that something can be coded as both positive and negative, I need to go through and refine the responses. So I'm just opening up the very positive node here. And so this is all very positive, but I know, because I know that some of it can be, sorry, I didn't mean to do all nodes coding. I'll just change that. Since I know that some of it will be coded both negative, I'll just put on the stripes for, so I know it's very positive. That's the one I'm looking at, but where it's both saying it's negative and moderately negative here. And, you know, if I disagree, so here there's this has been coded as both very positive and moderately negative. You know, so here you can see the sentence here, this must be a false economy given how much more the council would make if it were a nicer, more prosperous place. So I might decide, well, that really shouldn't be coded as very positive. So I can change it quite quickly by just selecting that sentence there, and I can just right-click here, and you can see I can change sentiment. So here I am just going to just make it is just moderately negative, which it already is, and you can see how it's removed from that list here. So it's quite quick and easy to go through these, and if you disagree with the way the sentiment engine had classified it, you can just select that text and right-click and just assign it to the sentiment that you want, which is a lot quicker to do than if I had to go through 637 responses and code for sentiment one by one. It's done sort of like the big trawl of things first for me, and I just need to go through and review it and refine it. So that's how it works. Again, that node matrix that the results you have here. So this is the latest result here. You can see they're all stored. So again, I can always rename them here so that it reminds me that, okay, that was looking at sentiment on the budget consultation survey. Like that. And then I can always access it if I want to see it that way again. And then once I can do that, I can, run queries. So I could do, sort of a matrix query in terms of positive and negative statements. If we look at some of the nodes here on, on council tax, for example. So I can do a matrix table on that, and then sort of refine what I'm doing very quickly. So you can always use the other tools that NVivo does once you've sort of sorted out and you've refined the coding that you have here. I'll just save that, and I just want to show you how you can use it as a way to verify coding that you've already done. So again, I'm back to the project that the focus groups I showed you were about. So you can see here, so here are the two focus groups, and I coded by hand. There's a lot of other data in here as well, but just focusing on that. So these were the issues that I coded for, and you can see that color scheme was one of the key things looking at the website elements. But the important thing is that you need to be guided by your research questions. And my research questions here was looking at the impression students get of universities from their websites and looking at the elements of the web page which was responsible for their impressions. So that's why in my coding for strategy I had codes for the different website elements, looking at the content, so the amount of information, types of information, descriptors about design factors, etc. So you can see all the coding that I've done by hand. Now I've already auto-coded, here's the area auto-coded for both focus groups there. And you can see here that, the stuff about color and color scheme, it picked up. It also picked up stuff about information, and that's where you can see I did a lot more coding about how much information was enough or the usefulness of it that way. And then in terms of page, home page was a key one. But there are other things that it picked up, pictures, people, types of people here as well. And I think more or less, I think my coding was pretty much reflects this, but you can see how you can, so again, this is to do with layout issues that it picked up. And again, if I go back to my coding here, it's sort of reflected in that. Obviously, my coding is more accurate, more in-depth, because I spent a lot of time doing it, but you can see here how this would have given me a first crack at kind of seeing what was in the data there. Right, okay, so I'll stop by there and ask if there's any questions.
Thanks, Ivana. We've had 3 or 4 questions come in, well, actually more than that. One particular one that's been asked a number of times is this autocoding, which version of NVivo is this available in? I can probably answer that one. It's only available in the latest version. It's NVivo 11 Plus for Windows. That's the only version it's available in. There are upgrade paths from older versions to NVivo 11, so that can be explored, but it's sort of the latest, greatest feature. So it's only in that version at the moment. I've got a question that says, does it support languages other than English? NVivo itself does, but I don't know if Autocoding does. Do you know, Silvana?
Yeah, it does. If I go back here, is that when you run it the first time, you have to tell it what language. If I go into project properties here, so you can see here that it, you have to tell it what language it's working in. Now I know that 11, and I'm in 11 here. You can see here that it supports the languages that are listed here, the French, German. I think they have. Okay, I'm not 100% sure with this, but I think with the upgrade that we just had, I think it does now support these languages. I know they've been playing around with French and German, but that's something that we can check with. But I think it won't support any language that's not in this list. It's the text content language. So basically, if you have, for example, French text, you want to make sure before you run the engine for the first time that you go into, and I'll just do it again, the project that you've created, you go into project properties here, and it's in the first tab, and make sure that you say, okay, this is all French text. And then the way I think it works is that the first time you run the autocoding feature by themes, it will download that particular language pack to do it. So I think, yeah, we just need to verify that, that's now working, Ian.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any more information
I've not tried it. I know
on that.
in the latest version, actually in all versions, it can handle data, but you'd have to manually code it. So you could handle any Unicode language out there. So you could handle all sorts of weird characters. But the autocoding is only available in those languages that you listed there. And then also the interface of NVivo, so the file, home, create data, the actual structure of it is also translated into those 7 languages. Okay, only got 5 minutes left, so next question is, can one autocode into pre-created nodes?
So when you say can you autocode into pre-created nodes, I'm not sure if I understand the question, but in a sense I did that. So for example here, if I, sorry, go back into my notes here. So here are the focus group topics. That's already pre-created. This was done not by the autocoding tool. This was done by me. And I can, from here, I can autocode just that. So is that what they mean? It will go into and identify the themes, which are just about the website appearance, and you can see here they are. So yeah, color scheme, stuff about the university. Yeah, museum. Yeah, boring university. So if I understood the question correctly, the answer is yes. I can pick any node that's you've already done coding to, and then code more. Use the autocoding theme to code more finely for themes within it. So I don't know if I understood the question correctly.
We'll see. Next question is, I can see that you can code text, documents, and PDFs. Is it also possible to code from web pages, even from Facebook pages or Twitter documents?
Yeah. So so here, for example, I've got some social media stuff that I used NCapture, some Facebook stuff here, and so therefore, if I can do the same thing here. I can autocode. That's the data set, so this is picking up the metadata from all that. and it's identifying the themes. And the same thing is, the PDF. So if you capture when you capture a web page, you capture the web page as a PDF. So it will do the same thing as with any PDF. You can auto-code by themes.
Okay, next question is, this seems to be quite a quantitative way to approach qualitative data. Do you think there's a danger for students learning to perform qualitative analysis and using NVivo for the first time, e.g. students in the dissertations?
Well, it's not quantitative. I mean, the only way it's quantitative is the sense that what themes come up the most is, like as you can see, students come up the most here is listed at the top, but it's actually coding for themes. So I wouldn't say that it's quantitative at all. It's coding for noun phrases and then putting them together at a broad code level, which you then have to go and refine. Now, as I said, is that you do have to consider your methodological approach. It does have to be refined. I mean, that's not it. This is just the beginning of cracking a data set, I call it. And, and it is designed for large qualitative data sets where you just simply don't have the time to go through and code them. In terms of students learning how to use NVivo, I think, therefore, whoever is teaching them have to sit down and think of a strategy of how to incorporate it. That's what I'm saying, to incorporate it in your coding strategy. As I said, it can be used at the very end, after they've done coding, to check if they've missed anything, and that might be one way that you might want to encourage it initially. It could be used as, or you can, just say, okay, this is you can also construct scenarios, lessons, where you actually show something that has been coded thoroughly by hand, like this project I just showed you, and then show what's missing, what it does miss, but the advantage of what it does give you as well. So I think, I think in terms of this as a new tool, I think you have to think carefully about how you incorporate it in your teaching. But I wouldn't say it's quantitative.
Okay, thanks, Silvana. So we're out of time now. One last question was, can we receive or rewatch a video of this webinar? The answer is yes. We are recording it, and a link will be sent to all participants within probably just under a week. Okay. On the screen now is information where you can get next steps. Do you want to go, Silvana?
Yeah, I mean, it's just to say that in terms of training, is just to make you aware that QSR runs classroom training in London, Manchester, and Glasgow, and if you go on our website, you can find that. But we also have online training that is at your own pace. It's asynchronous with a webinar at the end where students present their work. And we also come to you to run on-site training, which can be customized according to your needs. And we obviously do project consultancy and webinars like these. And of course, on the right-hand side, you'll see, our social media presence on Facebook, on our users group, and on YouTube. There are loads of videos about using NVivo. And of course, QSR has its own forum where you can post questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Silvana. We'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Okay, bye.